We're back. Judd'z Budz, episode 140. Wayne Gretzky plus Andy Sutton. I think he was number 42 for like 10 minutes. I think so. Anyways, as always, your host Spoke Z, joined by my good buddy, Mr. at State of Hoppy. Hoppy, how we doing?
We're just like you today. Sleep deprived.
Well
Gonna
rested.
figure it out though.
Yeah.
Apparently kids don't sleep sometimes. So
apparently Hoppy's baby's just trying to be like me. As far as the sleep schedule goes, or you can say that I just have the same sleep schedule as a newborn baby. I don't really know.
No, your sleep schedule is far worse than his.
Yeah, people have always been like, you need to go get like a sleep test thing or whatever. And I'm like, I already like just getting in bed half the time gives me anxiety because I'm like my mindset getting to bed's like, you're not gonna fucking fall asleep. You're not gonna fall asleep. You're not gonna fall asleep. You're not gonna fall asleep. You should, but you won't. 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 If I was to go do one of those tests and like I am laying down being observed as I have like wires across my body, there's no fucking way I'd ever fall asleep. They could leave me in there for a week and a half and I would be just as awake on my way out as I am on my way in, which probably isn't even that awake because I am always completely exhausted and awake. But so yeah, this should be a real high energy episode.
You say that we'll get like one beer in and then we'll both be back.
yeah, that's a good point.
I'm already feeling it a little bit. Just that intro, just like you said, the intro helps every time.
Yeah.
Without it, I'd probably just sign out.
Yeah, no. The Elmo Flames, which I used that GIF like 3 times this weekend.
I saw that. You were very trigger happy on that one.
Yeah, I think I was at the drop every time.
That wouldn't make sense.
So yeah, no, I'm never there. I haven't been there way too much this week.
I love it too. I wonder, like, you gotta imagine every once in a while we get like 1 or 2 randos in here that like are tuning in for the first time, and you just casually mentioning the drop every time. They're probably like, "What the fuck is he talking about?
What is he just outside like in a puddle? Like I don't know. What is he doing? Like I don't know.
He is the puddle.
Yeah, I am literally the puddle of booze.
Oh man.
Well,
but yeah, we have things that have happened, things to talk about. Well, we'll start just with some of the low-hanging fruit NHL stories, and we've got to start here. This just dropped, I think, late last week. The updates from Jonathan Toews on his healing journey, and just seeing the post at first, I legitimately thought someone made it as like a fake post, and apparently that wasn't the case. Is this news to you, Z? Are you not familiar?
I found out about it about 25 minutes ago.
Because you saw it on the outline?
Yes, because I clicked on the link on the outline.
Okay. What are your... So we're getting the immediate unfiltered thoughts of Spoke Z. What do we think here?
When I tell you I have not been able to read the full caption on his Instagram post, not as me like being a hater, like this was the exact opposite. Like if you told me there was gonna be a big Jonathan Toews update coming, like about life in general, I don't even know what I would have thought you were gonna say, but this is definitely the polar opposite. That he went on like, I don't even know what to call it. Like, what is this? I don't understand. But
Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca.
That was the first. I was like, is this like a? Again, I haven't been able to get myself to read this full on post or whatever. But like the little bit that I read, like first of all, good for him. He clearly had a lot going on the last couple years of his NHL career, just with like these weird injuries, and then whatever. Like he just disappeared at one point, and this is apparently.
No, he fell off the face of the earth, and they just found him. I don't know, weird, but just honest.
Yeah.
The first thing that I went to when I saw this, like you said, your first thought was Aaron Rodgers. That was like my second or third thought. My first was just going straight to Silicon Valley, where Eric Bachman just like pieces out and goes over to like Indonesia.
Oh yeah.
Why? Like that's just like random how my brain works, just filling everybody in. Like I just immediately was like, this is Ehrlich overseas doing his whatever and peacing out, and we'll never see him again. But no, just in general, like you and I have both dealt with, unfortunate repercussions after sports with injuries and stuff, and it doesn't even remotely compare to the shit that he's been through. I don't even know the full scope of it. So the fact that he's coming out and saying like he is healing, things are going the right way, like regardless of what I think about him in general, like I want that for everyone. Like I'm very happy that he is not, whether he's not dealing with it at all or he's not dealing with it as much, like awesome for him.
Yeah. And I mean, we always talk about this too with like big time, like famous people, pro athletes being very open and honest about like what's going on. It's always good to see like that level of like, I mean, honestly, it's like vulnerability. So, but even like the last, I did read it. I did get to the end of the post, but just it is crazy. I was like too long of a story to share all the details. Was it almost 5 years of searching for a way to heal the inflammatory and immune system issues that took me out of hockey? Like that's crazy.
First off, that broke my brain because it feels like he's been out of the game for like 10 minutes, not 5 years.
Right. Yeah. No, I know exactly.
So that was the part. Like I got to the end and saw that. I'm like, 5? What? Right. So yeah.
But either way, good for him. I mean, again, just the last posts I would have possibly seen coming, but just on the level of just like being a functioning, healthy human being, good for him. That's great. Like it is. That's wild.
Not weird.
Not weird.
It's actually weird too.
Yeah. But yeah, well, no, I had no idea about it up until literally like 25 minutes ago.
I had no idea about it until that post dropped last week. It was Mark Lazarus that shared it, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
It is crazy too.
If it was from anyone besides Lazarus, I would have for sure like thought it was like some kind of spoof.
Yeah, it is crazy too. Like you were just saying, we've both dealt with like post playing sports injuries or whatever. This is like a whole other level of like several years of literally just not knowing what's going on like with your body is like terrifying to me. So like at least anything that I've had going on after playing sports has literally just been like obvious physical issues that I could point and be like, yeah, whatever. Like I broke my back. Yeah, that's a pretty clear and obvious like what's going on. Just literally not knowing what's going on with like your body and like your bodily functions and if everything's like working the way it's supposed to be working. Like it's crazy. Like that terrifies me. So,
yeah,
I mean, good for him for really doing the full on deep dive. So,
yeah. And we will now spend the next 20 to 25 minutes on a very strange topic here, Z. Jim Montgomery fired by the Boston Bruins. Immediately following that, the St. Louis Blues fire their new head coach, Drew Bannister, and hire Jim Montgomery. What the fuck?
Yeah. I can't remember if he had... What day was it that he actually... Was it Thursday that they played? I don't know, whatever the Blue Jackets game. I literally tweeted in the middle of the game. I was like, well, they're definitely going to fire him tomorrow, but I have no idea how, like, what the next, whoever comes in is going to have to teach every single player how to play hockey again. This was always going to be a dude that once he got fired, he was going to be picked up immediately. Like any team that was like debating a coaching change, like this is an easy one to just go and pick up. This one, I did not see it coming with the Blues though, because I still think they're just a very weird hockey team, and I don't know how close they are to like getting back to being a legit playoff contender or whatever. Like the team that I honestly had in mind was a team like Detroit, where it's like, yeah, it's still a weird roster, but Jim Montgomery, especially when you look at last year specifically, what he's been able to pull out of like this aging core of the Boston Bruins and some of the younger guys that really were super inconsistent, and just getting the most out of like a roster that coming in the last few years, people have been wondering like, all right, is this the year the Bruins finally like take that step back and like miss the playoffs? And he comes in year one, sets every fucking NHL record, wins, points, whatever. Last year, they definitely outperformed some of their parts. And probably even after going up 3-1 in the series against Toronto, they should have lost that fucking series. But like, he's been able to pull out way more from that team than I think anyone would have expected. And then this was the year that it's just nothing's working. I mean, the roster is just, it is not great. But like, to me, Detroit as a team that needs to get every ounce of talent and every ounce from that team, like, they've been a team that's like, oh, is this the year the Yzer plan makes the playoffs again? And then they just fall flat on their face. I thought, because I don't know how long, like, I don't know if Lalonde makes it to the end of the season. Like, they've just made no progress whatsoever. We can talk about the roster still.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could say the same thing about Bruins this year. It's just like, yeah. Like,
that's the last arrow in the quiver, right, though? Like, after that, it's Yzerman. Like, this is
and that's the thing with the Bruins now. It's like, this is now the third coach that Don Sweeney's fired. So it's you're sitting there like, I don't know how many bullets you have left in the chamber at this point. And it was quite literally was the only thing that they were trying to make trades. The extension with Montgomery did not, like, those talks did not go remotely close to as well as they were hoping anyways. So this was the one move that they kind of had.
Well, and it was going to be bought himself time. Hang on, though. He bought himself time, though, because this entire season they'll have the interim tag on Sacco, which means he gets to hire a new coach next year, which means he extends the shelf life. And let's be real, that makes this year an okay year for them to miss the playoffs, too, for him to not be fired. So, because that's really the only way that I see them moving on and finding a new GM is if the Bruins miss the playoffs, because that's the big difference here between Detroit and Boston. Detroit's failing and not making the playoffs at all. Boston's at least getting into the playoffs and securing that ticket revenue. It's hard to like move on from that and be like, well, hopefully this next guy doesn't completely torpedo shit like Kyle Dubas, you know? Which I say that tongue in cheek. It's not Dubas's fault, but we also got a question here that we should touch on real quick. Cole's asking if we've got any parlays cooking tonight. I gotta say, like, weirdly, because the Rangers have been kind of weird, and now you've got the new coach bump. Like, you gotta have one leg of that be St. Louis visiting the Rangers.
Yeah, that's
you gotta play it. Boston doesn't play tonight, do they?
No.
I would have said just throw them in on it because, but
I did a weird one. Hold on.
There we go. We've actually got one.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, yeah, I took Nishushkin at least 2 assists versus Tampa, and Colorado covering the alt puck line, the over. In that game, a weird one, but it was.
There you go, Cole.
Is gonna be if it hits, which is you won't bet it. Crazy.
You won't bet it, Cole.
If that hits, that'll be a real nice payout. But I did throw that one in like 3 hours ago.
And so I'm with you though, Z, that like Montgomery is going to find a job quick, and him to the Blues in a vacuum makes total sense with the ties there. But it just feels kind of dirty to have a guy as your interim, and then this summer give him a 2-year deal as your head coach. We're not even to Thanksgiving yet, and you're fucking bombing him for another guy. Like, do you think that this was like kind of talked about? They're like, yo, we thought Montgomery was going to be fired and we were going to hire him. He didn't get fired, so we're going to offer you the job. But just know, like, we want Jim.
Well, you gotta say that. I thought you were saying what there. I think you did not go.
What did you think I was saying?
felt dirty from the Bruins side of things, but that's where I was confused.
Okay. No, I'm saying from the Blues side of things, do you think that Bannister was aware that Montgomery was the guy they wanted from the outset? Or
No,
is he just so. What the fuck?
I think this was definitely Bannister being like, what the fuck, man? Okay. I don't think he would have had I don't think people would have expected the Bruins to fire Montgomery. The only notion that could have been possible was the fact that they didn't extend him in the summer, even though they supposedly tried to and had already started talking to Joe Sacco apparently about hey, the extension thing isn't really going anywhere, that's weird. That is the weird part to me, where it's oh, but you're also saying that they really didn't want to, and it was kind of a last minute thing where it was going so poorly that it was the only move that they had. But at the same time, early in the season and the off season, you did apparently have Sacco was aware that this could be a possibility. How are we here? Which one is it, motherfuckers? Because that's just weird to me. But I would imagine Bannister had to have been what the fuck, man? Did you think we were going to make the fucking playoffs?
Yeah, right. Now, is this just the Blues panicking and being we can't see Jimmy Snuggerud go back for a senior year?
You got to think about that.
And who's going to absolutely love this hire? Current roster. No. Nope. A certain player that came from the Rangers, funny enough, that you've always been way higher on than me.
Boosh.
And that's not... I've always thought he was a good player, but definitely do not hold him in the same esteem that you typically have.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
More so related to the contract he got.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Again, the St. Louis Blues is such a weird roster in general, but
if you
Montgomery
put your hand over their blue line, it's not as weird.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. If you just don't consider one aspect of the game, but it'll be interesting. I mean, he's gonna give his personality does suit. First of all, just the front office that they have and that fan base. I think the quotes that he's already dropping are fucking incredible. Someone they asked him about the sweatshirts, yeah, I already had that one in the dresser, just threw it on. And then he started talking about eating steaks. I don't even fucking, it was insane. He's been hired for 12 seconds. He's just dropping banger after banger after banger. But again, I just think I didn't really expect the Blues to be a team that would immediately pick up Montgomery, because I don't really know if the Blues, I don't see them. Where are they now? They're 6th in the Central. Not even. No,
they're not good.
And I don't know if are they thinking next year they're gonna
No, I'm thinking that they're this is our coach and someone else will absolutely hire him, so we're just gonna get this done and say fuck it. That's why it's a 5-year deal.
Right. And part of that too is I'd have to go look at what their cap situation looks like. I wonder if that expedites making some crazy moves in the offseason. I mean, they should have a couple prospects that might be ready to play next year, but you're obviously not going to bank on that. But if you lock in Jim Montgomery, you have to think that means there's probably some big investments coming in the offseason as far as bringing guys in and kind of accelerating their plans for when they're planning on being a playoff team again.
Dude, how long until really Suter gets waived?
No, they'll give him another 5. They actually gave him a 5-year. You didn't see that? They gave both of them 5-year deals.
No, I can't even. I can't.
I can't. All right. I can't pull my food on that one.
On the flip side, though, I agree. I do think that's got to mean something is going to shake up the offseason for the Blues. Flyer Voracek asks, what happens with the Bruins UFAs? Do they consider moving Marchand at the deadline if they don't right the ship?
I don't know. I think I saw that Chris Johnston did his one of his big trade boards recently, and he did have Marchand on there. I don't think that's going to be a thing, but there are plenty of guys that I would imagine that they're looking, because they're already before they pulled the trigger on firing Montgomery, like they have been apparently aggressively looking for like some kind of trade or multiple. And I mean, you look at, but some of these guys, just like the contracts that you would probably look to get rid of, or I don't know how movable some of them are. Other ones, it's just like I got like Trent Frederick. I would imagine I would not be shocked if St. Louis. He's a St. Louis kid. He plays that brand of hockey. That would be one guy that like that's a guy that I could see them looking at too. But
sure, but
I think they have to get active. Like this roster is just, and I don't think they're gonna be ready to be like, we're probably going to miss the playoffs this year, even though it's like right now they're technically in the second wild card spot. But I mean, like, I think Tampa has 3 games in hand and they're only back 1 or 2 points.
Well, I don't think they're making moves today, right? But I think like come spring, if it's looking like they're out, I'm not like advocating that moving Marchand is like what needs to happen. But if you're trying to find new pieces, whether that's like finding current players or getting futures, he is like the perfect deadline move. Like teams will overpay for a guy like that if they're looking to go on a playoff run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I would honestly still expect them to try to make more moves to bring guys in earlier than they usually would, because again, they've already been exploring the trade market. So I mean, we'll see what happens with guys like Trent Frederick, Charlie Coyle. Like Charlie Coyle's no trade. I think it's like an 8 or 10 team. I can't remember. But like guys like that, I would imagine they're not going to be shy about potentially moving. Even a guy like Pavel Zacha, who I still really like him a lot. But there's just been inconsistency lately with him too. But yeah, it's a very, the next few weeks, obviously, now that we're hitting Thanksgiving, like this is good. I feel like this does feel like the year the Bruins start making moves significantly earlier than they otherwise do or usually do. Like they're usually one of those teams that maybe a couple of days before the trade deadline they'll do something, and that's like crazy. Other than that, they're usually like deadline day shoppers. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I did not expect the Montgomery to St. Louis and then immediately sign that long-term contract. At the same time, he's been there before. The market thing makes sense. It was more just like the team situation. I didn't really see that coming. But as I fucking hate the St. Louis Blues, so I don't want to wish him well. But like, I love Jim Montgomery. He rocks. So I wish him somehow if he can win. But I don't know how that would work. But if that's possible, then I want that to happen. But I don't think it's quite literally not possible. So that's just stupid.
When you mentioned Thanksgiving, let's just get into it. We're here a couple days early. We can't make official judgment until the actual day of Thanksgiving, and it's Thanksgiving, not American Thanksgiving. Isha, you fucking peasant. We're going to rule out the teams that are sitting quote-unquote bubble, right? So the 2 wild cards and the 2 just outside of wild card for the East and the West. We're going to go and each pick one team in each conference that is currently in that will be out at the end of the year, one that's out that'll be in. And I'll let you lead because we're not doubling up on any. So let's where do you want to start? Do you want to start East or West?
We can go East. All
right, East. So who's a team that's currently in that you don't think will be in?
Buffalo.
I figured
they're hot right now, 7-3 in their last 10. The only way that I think they stay in is just Tage doing Tage things. And like, that's pretty much their path. I don't see that. I mean, right now they're in 3rd again. The big thing is like Tampa Bay's got a couple games in hand on everyone in the division. And I just don't see Buffalo staying where they're at. They've had, again, real good in their last 10 games, 7-3, but I just don't see it lasting.
I mean, it's a reasonable stance. I think you know who mine is going to be. Oh, wow, you don't. Okay. It's absolutely the Washington Capitals.
Okay.
I was on Fraud Watch with them before the season started. They have absolutely fucking shoved that one down my hoop so far this year, but I don't know how comfortable I am with them sustaining it in general. But then you factor in that their mascot, who just so happens to be producing it like he's a fucking 25-year-old, Ovechkin, got hurt. I just don't see them, unless the Rangers are legitimately dead. Like we talked about it before the year. We're both super high on the Devils and the Hurricanes. I just feel like if you've got a team like the Rangers that's going to vie for pushing you out of that top three, I think the Atlantic at the end of the day takes two of the wild card spots. I don't see Washington being in the picture.
Yeah,
Why am I dumb?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I can't remember if I had them in the top three in that division or if I just had them in a wild card spot. But as we've talked about several times, I was pretty firmly on the side of like Washington being like having a good chance of being a good team. But this Ovechkin thing, which, well, of course, the second that we started, I think it was literally on here, we were like, he's gonna fucking do it for sure. I hope he does it in Minnesota. That'd be cool as shit. And then he was like, and injured out for several weeks. Like, god damn it, of course.
So yeah, we jinx everything.
Unbelievable how much of a mush. Anything that I speak words.
I think that one was my fault. That one's on me.
I'll great. If you want to take that one,
most of them are you. I'll concede, but that one, awesome. I kind of led the charge on that one last week, so that's on me for mushing it. All right,
but we should have talked. We should before we did that. I've actually meant the Rangers thing is crazy because they're talking about like waiving guys like Jake.
They're gonna trade Kreider, dude.
Kreider and True, like they're gonna get
they can't trade Trouba because he's being a bitch about it.
And they're gonna wait, like that's like buy him out or wait, whatever it was. I was like, oh my god.
Well, that's again, if it was strictly him exercising his no trade protection, I totally respect it. You get that for a reason. But he literally told them that if he gets traded to a team that's not in his trade protection list, that he will just not show up.
Yeah.
I think that is a bullshit coward ass move. Period. I don't care that it's for his family, whatever. Like, you signed the contract you signed. You play professional hockey. Sorry, you don't get the luxury of saying what you will or won't do. So yeah. I personally am not a big fan of that, on top of the fact that I think Trouba's a scumbag, but whatever. Yeah, the Rangers, I'm definitely not sad by what's happening.
No, that's pretty good to watch.
It's enjoyable. It's a fun train wreck. All right, speaking of train wrecks, who are the teams in the East? Pick one that is not in the playoff picture right now that you think will be. And again, we're not talking Rangers, Bruins, Lightning, Islanders. Those four are all off the table.
I was really hoping that they would be at least a little bit closer or less of a shit show, considering that this was the year before the start of the season. We were like, I feel most comfortable about Ottawa this time, and like not looking like an idiot later. And I don't know why I keep letting myself do like I've resisted it for so long. I don't know why. I just ultimately believe that this would be the year, but I still can't I can't even get there with them right now. It is such a shit show. Like it's I was talking to my my buddies who are Sens guys, and it is, I don't know what's in the water up there. It is insane. Like they can't have 10 minutes of peace. And now they've got people like
trying to trade Kachuk.
Trading Kachuk, stripping him of the captaincy before they trade him, which, by the way, there you go, St. Louis. But it is unbelievable. That being said, if we can't pick Tampa or the Islanders the only team in like I've been shitting
You're not
on
picking
them.
Ottawa.
No, I won't pick Ottawa. I just think they're such a shit show that like they've officially broken my brain. I guess the only team that would even be close to being close would be Detroit, because they've had a few good games here and there. I am absolutely not a believer in that hockey team, but
it's crazy, dude. I don't
especially
believe
when they're relying on Cam Talbot like putting up ridiculous numbers. Like that's the only reason.
Sustainable. It's not sustainable.
But again, considering if I can't pick the Islanders or Tampa,
I mean, come Thanksgiving you can, but for the exercise right now, because we don't know whether or not they'll actually be in the playoff picture by then, we can't. But I'm gonna go because again, I don't believe in any of these teams. Like, if I wasn't,
the fun would be actually that would be upsetting.
If I wasn't a Penguins fan, I could try and talk myself into them, but I can't. I have no reason to believe. Fucking Sidney Crosby gets a milestone goal, joins Gretzky on the list of people that hit like X amount of points, X amount of goals, and 3 cups by a certain time, and it's in a fucking 6-1 shellacking from Utah. So like there's just nothing good to talk about in Pittsburgh.
You know Columbus, dude?
The team Columbus. Mm-hmm. Columbus is my team. Dean Evison.
I should have done that.
He doesn't miss the playoffs, and honestly, they're playing better hockey now.
They've put up some that game
to lose too. Like they're a team that just like they're gonna go out there every night, and like there's really no pressure.
That game against Tampa, what was the final 7-6, 8-7 or some shit?
Well,
that was insane. That was like I looked at my phone. It was like Tampa Bay winning like 4-1 in the first period. And then I checked my phone early the second. It was like 4-4. I was like, what the fuck is going on right now? Werenski put up 5 points. Like it was insane. By the way, again, we talked about this either last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm very happy that Sean Monahan continues to play really good hockey for them and is like just under a point per game. I will root for that dude forever. Especially given like that last 2 years in Calgary and the situation this year with Columbus, like why he signed in Columbus.
Oh no, that's more what it is for me. Like the situation in Columbus now, like
I'm saying like even before this summer, like he's always been a dude I've like wanted to see succeed. And then obviously the culmination of everything, the reason he signed that deal in Columbus, and just good things happening for guys that sign long term, like 5 years, like that's long term.
Dude,
just any good thing and Dean. So
I don't know what it was because I like heard about it in passing and then I never went back to find it and I just remembered it now. I don't know if Columbus posted it or used it in the rink or something, or if it was someone else that got it going viral on Twitter and I can't find it. But Columbus, like someone used the post from the sweep. Like,
that was
was it Columbus?
Yeah, it was them right after.
Awesome.
It was like they said something like, "We do have words, and you do want to hear them." It's like, oh my god,
that I respect the hell out of that. That is awesome. That's what I'm here for. Oh, it's incredible. Okay, moving on to the West then. The teams that are off limits: Colorado, Edmonton, Vancouver, Seattle. Give me a team that's in right now that's going to be out. And for the listeners, I guess we've got Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, Vegas, Calgary, LA.
I'll say Calgary is going to be out. I think that's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, I'm
just given. LA. Oh yeah, you've been on that train too.
I'm way too firmly planted on that one. Again,
yeah.
I'm not going to say I was wildly off like I was with the Capitals because like the Capitals I really just had no reason to believe. The Kings, the forward group, there's absolutely reason to believe in it. The blue line is not good. The goaltending I don't trust. All it takes is 1 or 2 injuries for them, or all it takes is like a bad stretch of games to derail them entirely, especially with the teams that are behind them. Like, again, we just said Colorado, Edmonton, Vancouver, like that's not a fun group to have chasing. I got them out. All right, the teams that are currently out that we want to talk about potentially getting in, Z.
How is Anaheim sniffing a playoff spot?
Yeah, how is Anaheim the first name I'm reading chronologically? Anaheim, Utah, St. Louis, Nashville, San Jose, Chicago.
Fuck that hockey team. God damn it. Like, they're so annoying. Like, I kind of hate them now. Like, I actually am starting to despise them. I mean, again, like, realistically, the teams... Utah, I guess, would be the one that's out that I...
You motherfucker.
That's the only one, really, that, like...
I thought for sure you'd just take the low-hanging fruit with Nashville, but I'm not even sure I believe it.
No, I firmly am out. They're going to miss. Like, I firmly...
All right, fine. Fuck you. St. Louis. Jim Montgomery is the coach that they needed.
I thought about it. I thought about
I can't. I don't believe it. I don't. All right, if I can't have Utah, who you absolutely knew was going to be my pick.
Go Anaheim. Fucking be the heel of all you.
But see, that's not even heel. Like, most listeners would probably be like, yeah, I think Anaheim. Like, no, wow, I don't believe in any of these fucking teams.
Yeah, like, they're all really bad.
You know what? San Jose Sharks. Celebrini. Kid is absolutely the real deal. He is going to be a better NHLer than Connor Bedard. We're going there.
Oh, shit.
Rumors that he and Kirill Kaprizov want to go to Chicago, though, so that's concerning.
Ah, damn it. They're loading up.
Well, there you go. There's our pre-Thanksgiving nonsense.
It really does. It blows my mind that the Anaheim Ducks are 500. If you had, you'll be shocked to learn that I have watched maybe a total of 25 minutes of Anaheim Ducks hockey this season. If you asked me straight up before I looked at the standings, like what I thought their record was, I would tell you confidently 0-700. Like, they stink, and I cannot believe that they are actually 500. Good for them, I guess, except I hate them because they've really, more so than like the Senators, just as far as like being disappointing. Like, they've just, it's felt like they've got everything wrong. Like, everything, despite the fact, other than drafting. And then they're either forcing them in too early or they're just not there yet. But, like, they are. It's crazy when there's that many, even like the young guys that are there. Like, there's enough players that should be really fun to watch. And watching one of those hockey games, I did try a couple weeks ago. They were playing, I forget who they were playing. They were playing another fun team. Now it's going to piss me off. I can't remember the team. 10 minutes of the
charity work for the week.
10 minutes in the first period, I was like, I'm out. Like, this is like, it's so hard to watch. So
yeah.
So all that to say, I look like a dumbass now because they're 500.
Yeah,
well, I didn't need them.
Dude, I mean,
a dumbass, but
really though, it just took Jesse Pierce firmly planting them in the playoffs 5 years in a row for them to be a 500 team.
Yeah, no, they need. Maybe if she goes all the way and says that they'll win the cup, then
they'll maybe be a wild card.
They'll finish close to 500.
All right. Moving off of that, not weird, wild talk. And we've actually got plenty of comments that have already come through that we'll lead off with here, Z. First from Flyer Voracek, literally like right when the show started. I must ask you to rise for the ascent of Matthew Boldy. Are you not entertained? Ooh, Russell Crowe.
He rules. Like, it's funny thinking about when he signed that 7x7. And I'm not even going to the people that were like immediately like, whoa, he just got here. But even it's just funny when it was like, oh, that should age like in 2 or 3 years, that deal is going to look incredible. Like, I think a 7x7 already was pretty fucking good the second he signed that contract. But I mean, at this point, he's playing like a $10-11 million hockey player. And like, we've seen him play a variety of roles, whatever line he's on, like goal scorer, playmaker, again, the two-way ability. Like that defensive game, like he's taken huge steps forward in all three zones, but like specifically him just like having a few games where he's legitimately taking over. He is, what a season that he's had so far. He is one of, if not the biggest reason outside of like Gustafsson being 2 years ago version of Gustafsson. Even then, like a lot of this is coming through Boldy when Kaprizov's out. What 1 or 2 games that he's missed. But he is so fucking good. And his deception with the puck, like he's not the fastest skater in the world, but he is very deceptive just in everything that he does. I think he's an unbelievable, like I don't think he gets enough credit for how smart of a hockey player he is, and his ability to manipulate defenders on and off the puck is next level. Like again, just the fact that he's taking over games, like what a season he's having. Like he rocks.
And anyone that didn't already, go check out the PDO cast when Jesse Marshall joins him to do a film room on Matt Boldy. Incredible stuff, but like I can't say enough good things about Jesse Marshall. Like that dude knows so much more about evaluating hockey than I ever will fathom of. And most of you either don't know him or dislike him because he covers the Penguins, but I assure you, dude is top notch. Next one here, Z. Cosgrove. If Brady Tkachuk requests a trade, 1, would you want the Wild to get him? 2, if yes, what would you be willing to give up to get him?
It's a weird one where it's like, I think you're crazy if you just outright say, no, I would not like my hockey team to go and pick up a guy like Brady Tkachuk who can give you like 25, 30 goals, 80 points, fight 15, 20 times a year. It just like the second he stepped in the NHL, he was a beast. With what it would cost, I actually don't know.
Yeah. Not what would it cost? How far would you be willing to go to get him? Let's put it that way. Like, what is your max spend?
I still think it'd probably be a combination of like a first, a prospect, and a current roster player, which even like I don't even think though. I think the Wild would probably have to go pretty deep into like as far as making the trade work. It feels like one where you'd probably have to go where you may not be super comfortable as far as like prospects you want to give up.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see what they want to do at the deadline because, I mean, how well they've drafted over the last few years, the needs they have now, it's a really weird combination where I still think they obviously need some depth scoring, but I don't know if they really need to go out and like go crazy if they are like serious about being a like good, solid, make like a decent playoff push.
I think there's a difference though between a rental and a long-term guy, you know. But no, you're right. I'm not on the rental train unless it's like a cheap, affordable type rental. But
what'll be interesting it'll be so if there is like a mandate from ownership that they get active this summer once those buyouts are up, even though they spent most of that money already on a bunch of 4x4s. That's where I'm like, okay, like, do they consider doing something like that, or are they going to do free agent? You know what I mean? That just doesn't feel like a deadline move, honestly. With the
it might not be deadline. It might be.
Also, I don't think they wouldn't be able to do it. Like,
no, the money would be really tough.
Yeah,
if the money wasn't a factor, I would very much entertain this. And Flyer Voracek chimes in for Brady. I'd flip 2025 first and Liam Ogren. He'd be absolutely perfect next to Boldy and Eck, or he'd be fantastic next to Kaprizov as protection and a great scorer. Which it's funny, like. The amount of people on Twitter who are like losing their minds about finding protection for Kaprizov is hilarious. But
Russo went nuclear on Twitter, which is always the best, but he started clapping back at people.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
To a level where I was like, oh, he's mad. Like, he's angry mad. Like I think one person said
they ran out of drip coffee at Starbucks, mad.
When he enters the mode of like one person pissed me off, now anyone can get it. That's like must watch Twitter. Like it's like stop what you're doing, subscribe to the tweets, and just watch it rain hellfire over anyone that says something.
He literally we need to get like a version of the Elmo gif where it's just like an angry Russo.
Like typing.
Can you imagine? Yeah, he's got his phone out. We'll talk him into it. All right.
I saw someone flow the Reese thing.
Next time he jumps on fellowship, we'll ask him about it. But am I correct that like if the money even worked, like 2025 first and Ogren isn't getting it done?
Yeah,
for Ottawa, like they want way more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about. Yeah, I mean that feels like it would be missing a piece or two, but
I do think though, like I don't think that Brady is Matthew.
Well, also I don't think
the same
that first round pick is going to be
right. It's not going to be a good.
Yeah, right.
So I do think that Brady is like unicorn adjacent though, right? Like he is the kind of player that can do everything for you, which is why you want to do everything you can to get that kind of player. He's the kind of guy that I would overpay for to get in, assuming you can make it work dollars and cents, right? Honestly, dude, it's never going to happen, but him as a Bruin would be fucking gnarly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he fits that real well.
He's one of the guys that he and Matthew, whenever they have games in Boston, they usually have like 60 people at the game. It's insane because their whole family's from here. And like they are rowdy.
But even remove like the regionality, like the way they play just fits.
Mm-hmm. No.
But Brady to St. Louis would be insane.
Well, yeah, that was the big one too. Like before Matthew got traded to Florida, the other big player in that one was St. Talking. So that was like I think he said he had like 3 or 4 teams he was like okaying to go to, and obviously I'm talking about Matthew right now as we're talking about Brady, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I mean a Kachuk back in St. Louis would be, I mean it makes too much sense. But with awesome. Jim Montgomery as the fucking coach, god damn it, the quotes that would come out of there,
dude. And imagine him with
Ricky
Dvorsky, baby. Last one that's popped up so far in the chat. We gotta help Noah here. I am looking to get a Wild jersey. Which one should I get?
Ooh. I feel like Faber is such a good one. Like potential future. Well, I mean, feels like fairly likely eventual captain. Long-term Minnesota kid. He might play his whole fucking career here.
No, he will. He will.
Yeah. I mean, he's locked in, obviously, but like he just makes a ton of sense. I feel like you got good security with him not going anywhere at least anytime like in the next decade.
Let me
favorite.
I want to call and raise that though. Because if you really want to be a boss, you should get a Faber Gopher jersey instead.
Fair.
But no, Faber's a fair one. I'm like the worst person to ask because I like go obscure no matter what. Like I don't like having the same shit as other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've told this, I don't know if I've told it on here before, but like Randy Moss is the greatest football player ever, period. I have always loved him and been obsessed with him. I would not get a Randy Moss jersey because every single motherfucker had a Randy Moss jersey. You know? So if we're going to go like real deep cut obscure, you're getting a throwback jersey and you're going to get Petteri Nummelin, who is the only player in Minnesota Wild history to hold an NHL wide record. That's right. Greatest shootout percentage ever with minimum of 10 attempts. Now, if we're going current roster, I'm also a guy that would probably get like the Wheat Iowa Wild and get one of those guys that's up and coming. Like that'd be a sick one to get of Haight or like a Bankier or a Lambos or an Ogren, whatever. If we're going current Minnesota Wild roster, though,
I feel like you're gonna go.
It depends on if you care about longevity, right? Like, do you want this to be a player that you know you can continue wearing the jersey? Because I got two that don't fit that bill. Otherwise, if we're going like needs to fit that bill, I'm saying Jesper Wallstedt.
Nice.
But if we don't need to fit the bill of gonna be here, Marco Rossi's an easy one for me. I'm just not confident that he's gonna be here, which makes me super sad. In fact, you should get one like this that's even better. Or Jakub Lauko. How do you not?
But he's just
great number 94, and he is just like he is everything that I want in a hockey player. Like obviously he's not an all-star, he's not a first liner, but like he's got the personality off the ice. He does anything you can ask of him on the ice that's within his skill level, and he's just I don't know, he's just so fun.
Yeah, he rules. That'd be a great one, especially if you don't care about like the longevity thing, except. Actually, yeah,
I'm gonna make a trade with him. If as soon as we get him on fellowship, I'm going to tell him that I will buy a Lauko jersey and we'll throw it up on the wall forever. He's got to get a fellowship with a rink tattoo.
Yeah, no, he does. Yeah, he's gonna be so excited
I'll
about.
Fucking pay for the tattoo.
He's gonna be so excited to go on that. That might be like. Joe's going to have to go in the middle of the episode or at the end of the episode. And then you're going to text me like, hey, just so you know, I know it's been like 3.5 hours. We're still on just talking Lord of the Rings. If you want to pop back in, we could just nerd out about that if you want to. Like,
we're not going to be able to contain it to an episode. Like, I'm just going to be like, yo, you tell me where you want to go get drinks and let's go just fucking be nerds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird though. Like, I've got a little bit of imposter syndrome with that because like love Lord of the Rings. If you would have asked me back like middle school, high school, like, dude, you could have given me any fucking trivia you wanted and I would have crushed it. Now, like I remember the main things. I definitely can't like deep cut like he's gonna. The one thing we will be able to riff on though is the new series on Amazon, 2 seasons in. That people are shitting on it, and like I get like some of the criticisms, but the people that say it just sucks are just flat out wrong.
Yeah, I would.
Do you watch Lord of the Rings? Like, have you seen the movies?
I don't even know if I've seen all of them.
Okay,
I don't even know how many there are.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, no hand up. My bad.
All right, whatever.
There was a. I was dying. This is like. Early on into my Twitter existence with Spokesy, but I don't even know how. I'm guessing just because he retweeted it, but like Lauko did a podcast in the Czech Republic. It was like a music, like a rock and roll podcast, and the picture that they posted of him like doing the episode, he's got like a band. He's rocking a bandana and like jean jacket. It's like. This guy is the fucking man, dude. Like he is the best.
Trying to be Yager.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. But he is just.
Cosgrove has a really good point here. My players do not last here.
That's a good point.
I've got the Koivu Columbus jersey. He lasted 7 games there. Shit. Kessel got traded. Zucker had a bad falling out in Pittsburgh. We all know what happened with Addison. Yeah, Marco Rossi will be traded according to Jersey Voodoo. Thanks, Cosgrove. All right. Anything else Minnesota Wild we want to touch on before we jump World Junior?
Just a couple things real quick. First of all, phenomenal news on Kaprizov. Looks like he is back in tonight, avoiding any serious knee problems. on that, anytime your superstar gets hit and hurt, totally get people be like, what the fuck? It was some of the reactions to that hit. I was like, dude, full speed, slowed down, replay, doesn't matter. He wasn't going further. Like, he wanted to hit him and he wanted to hit him hard, but he was obviously just trying to hit him square. And like, again, a player that needs to make that hit to stay in the lineup and get NHL games. He's going to go for that hit 10 times out of 10. He's been in and out of the lineup as is just like last few years, just wherever he's been. He missed. Like, he just missed the hit. And like, shout out Matt Boldy for stepping in. And then it was done. Like, that was it. It's not like the fucking Winnipeg
shout
Jet
out
thing.
Matt Boldy for stepping in and call out for the loser that wouldn't fight Middleton.
Reasonable. Reasonable trade-off. If you're Kajula, you're like, all right.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled to make that trade, but it's just like really cowardly.
Well, no, if you're Kajula, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, the fact that they said it was done, and like, but again, it was crazy seeing like some of the reactions being like, I mean, again,
why is Foligno still here?
That's the thing where I'm like, come on, man. He wasn't
like
even
as he's been playing great lately. Like, scored a fucking goal in the game. Like, what's the point of having him here? Like, shut up.
Yeah.
If the person that made that comment is listening right now, like, feel free to not listen. I don't care. Like, you're just dumb.
Yeah. But then the only other wild thing I at least wanted to touch on real quick, that officiating crew in Calgary, I do not enjoy talking about referees at all. Like, they all annoy me. And like, anytime to spend more than 2 seconds talking about like bad calls, it's just not fun. It's just not fun to like talk about on a podcast or listen to. That was so fucking egregious. It was insane. That one with the Hartman getting cross-checked in the head 17 times and Boldy and like no call. Boldy went over and pushed him and they take both.
I knew you were going to go there.
The first replay, like, it cuts off as Boldy's getting there. And then, like, during intermission, they played the full clip. And I was like, oh, there wasn't any more? Like, they didn't even punch each other? I was like, so there was going to be no call. But then Boldy stepped in and, like, it's got Hartman off, or got, was it Uyghur? Yeah, Uyghur off of him. And then they ended up going with both. It was asinine. And then the goalie interference from the dude called it from like the parking lot while the other is literally like basically on top of both of them. And
I love the way
Ryan Hartman for going off on him after the game too.
Yeah. Well, and Russo just like as cheeky as can be, like, and the ref calls the penalty from 100 feet away. Cool.
I do love that anytime that stuff happens, like Russo is not holding back on Twitter, like live, like just throwing the ref's name out there and be like, by the way, same guy they had 2 games ago. He knows every Wild game that refs like has worked for like the past 4 years. He's just like, he was ref on this day. Like, this guy, like, what a treat to have this man writing for the Minnesota Wild and the Athletic.
The reply might have to be like, who's worse, him or Peel? But Russo likes Peel, so that's tough.
Yeah,
I don't know about likes. But, like, they've gotten cigars together. I think that's all it takes for Russo to like you. Yeah, I have yet to do that. I probably never will.
But at least wanted to just because that was the decisions that were made in that game from the ref were crazy. But then shout out Marco Rossi. He was like good but quiet, I thought. And then of course it's him that steps up, scores the tying goal. Like, we've talked about this before. It feels like the coach is like looking for a reason, and he just still, even in a quiet game, the fact that he's able to step up and produce in big moments. I mean, I think he's right under a per game now. Still,
he's on pace for 24 goals and 68 points. I will take that. If he can get one more point.
Yeah, he needs to get. Yeah. We need to hit that benchmark, the 69 benchmark. But it's gonna. I hate that it still just feels like a foregone conclusion that it's just like probably not a long-term thing. What you get? It's just so weird. Fucking first like out and out center that can produce that you draft in the top 10 that you've been looking for forever, and it's like, yeah, no, we're just not comfortable. I think part of it is just like his game is interesting, where it's like he is capable. He is a super skilled guy, but he's a short center. The foot speed isn't like crazy or anything, so it's like a lot of what he does doesn't necessarily like jump off the page or like stand out as far as like highlights go, but like he is incredibly effective, and like just the fact that he's worked to where he's got to, despite all the setbacks with his health, it just sucks that it feels like it is still a foregone conclusion. But I mean, another guy, what a season he's having.
Yep. All right then. No longer weird or wild. Let's get into the Athletics roster projections for the World Junior Championships this year in Ottawa, starting as always. For whatever reason, Canada calls it Boxing Day, which I'm sure like at one point Nisha was probably like giddy about because he thought it was people fighting. But
Boxing Day is a thing outside of Canada.
It's a thing here?
Mm-hmm.
Like in Boston or?
No, it's like Premier League soccer. They talk about like Boxing Day.
Well, yeah, that means
no, it's a thing forever. It's just like I don't think we say it as much, but it's definitely not just a.
Well, no, but you didn't say it's a global thing. You said it's also a thing here. Is it a thing here? Like I'm
yeah, we just don't. I don't think people like use it the phrase a lot, but it's like it's Boxing Day. It's a thing outside of Canada.
I genuinely don't even know what it means. So
it's a day. I think it's the day. What is it? Day after Christmas?
Well, no, I know that, but why is it called Boxing Day? All right, that is Christmas talk.
Something to do with Christmas gifts? I don't fucking know.
Well, you unbox them on Christmas. I don't know what Boxing Day is the day after. Anyways, that's when the World Juniors start.
No, let's riff on this for an hour and a half.
No, we'll Google the shit. Fine.
No, I actually don't want to Google it. With how spotty both of I almost mentioned Wi-Fi internet.
Don't you dare.
I didn't. I stopped myself.
Boxing Day is a holiday celebrated after Christmas Day, occurring on the second day of Christmastide. What the fuck does that mean?
That is new to me.
Boxing Day was once a day to donate gifts to those in need, but it has evolved to become a part of Christmas festivities, with many people choosing to shop for deals on Boxing Day. So
Christmas presents.
You're telling me that people would give shit away to the homeless people after Christmas? So like they can't enjoy normal Christmas like the rest of us. That's some fucking bullshit.
You're not getting your Christmas.
Listen. We want you guys to have things. You don't get to enjoy Christmas if you don't have a home. Like, dear Lord, that's psychotic.
That's rude. So
yeah, I'm not on. You know what? This podcast disavows Boxing Day. All right, World Junior rosters. What we're here to talk about. We're not going to do a thorough breakdown on every single roster, especially since these are projections from the prospect crew over at the Athletic, but really more just talking about things of interest with each team, and then anything that maybe Z thinks is a clear omission of a player. We'll kind of start least interesting for the listeners and work our way up to the fun ones. Czechia, Z. What stands out to you for Team Czechia?
Yeah, it's going to be. I would say they probably at least at the top of their roster. Maybe a little bit less than they've usually had, but it's kind of the same story with them where I really like their blue line still. And when you talk about a team that's played spoilers so many times the last few years, a lot of that's come from like not just how well they can defend, but like the offense that they get from their back end. And then they do have a guy like Michael Frabel, who's been okay / good in college. But he is a guy that's capable of stealing a game. So like when you talk about, like I would say, especially this year, when you look at like the big 5 teams, Czechia, Finland, Sweden, Canada, USA, I would say there's a pretty legit drop off after like USA, Sweden, and Canada into Finland and Czechia. But like when you look at this roster, you could see them still pulling off another one of those wins over one of the big dogs, just thanks to like the back end and their goaltending. Like Michael Hrabel's capable of stealing you a game. And they've got a bunch of like really well-rounded players in that forward group. The one guy for this upcoming draft who's going to be fascinating to see where he goes is Adam Banak. He is a natural center who is like the playmaking can be dynamic. He is very, very, very small, and that's why he probably has a good chance of getting taken outside the first round. But like the talent level is insane. He broke the record for points at the Holinka recently, this past Holinka. He's played like 3 of them. He is insane. How
that
good
sounds
he
like
is.
a Judd 4th rounder.
Right. But they do have like their line construction that they've got here. Like I like a guy like Adam Jecko, who plays in the WHL. He played for Edmonton in his draft year. He's really fun. But if they make noise at this tournament, it's going to be thanks to the back end. Again, like they can defend well, and they've got some guys that can put up good offense. Another guy for this upcoming draft who's going to get probably taken potentially a top 15 guy, Radim Murtka. He's massive, and he can give you points, and he is physical. He's mean. He's very fun. And then Dominic Badinka, shocking a Carolina Hurricanes mid-round pick, or I think maybe it was a second round pick. I think it was actually early second,
beginning of the second. But
every time they take someone that I like, I'm like,
you called it on the stream. Credit given, but definitely not a mid-round pick.
Yeah, every time they take someone
to say that someone was a bottom 6 or a middle 6 guy when you meant third liner.
Yeah, exactly. But Dominic Badinka could really do some fun stuff at this tournament too, especially just like this style of play, like dynamic skater, good offense, super physical, and his defensive game is like the reason he got to play a lot of Allsvenskan last year in Sweden. Out in like for the past 2 years really, and playing like legit SHL. No, it was just SHL, not Allsvenskan. I was thinking of a different team. But he's playing like 20 minutes a night playing pro hockey. He's like a 16, 17-year-old. Like he is legit, so he could have a really good tournament. But if they make noise this tournament, it's going to be thanks to the back end and like Michael Hrabel doing good stuff. So we'll see. But their talent all around, like it's a solid lineup, but they're still just like probably a step or two below the big dogs, but definitely capable of pulling off the classic Czechia win that we've seen the last few years.
Am I correct in thinking that this is the one team where like you really don't have any outliers that you're like, this is a guy that I think should be on the roster?
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
Yeah. Fair. Well, then we'll move on to one that should be particularly interesting to Minnesota Wild fans. Team Finland. We got 3 Minnesota Wild players projected on the roster. Second line center, Rasmus Kumpalainen. First pairing defenseman, Aaron Kiviharju, which he's paired with a Penguins defenseman. It doesn't make sense to me. They aren't allowed to have any players in World Junior. That's the rules.
But wait, there's more.
The second pairing is also Minnesota Pittsburgh. Holy shit. With Sebastian Sawinni on that group as well. Z, let's just quick talk about those 3 guys, and then you can just tell me like anything you're excited about and any omissions.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the one. So this is going to be compared to years past. Actually, maybe not so much last year. I think about it, but this will be in terms of like how many Minnesota Wild prospects we've seen playing the last few years. Like probably the only one that'll be on a roster outside of Team Finland is Z Booyum and Team USA. But I'll be interested to see if Sawinni does make it. I think he may have just been hurt. He hasn't played in a few weeks, but he was playing with Team Finland at a recent U18 event. But I mean, Kivi Harju, I said this last couple weeks, he has really, really been good in Liga like the past like month or so. He's starting to put up some decent points. He's playing like 20 minutes a night. Their go-to guy in the power play. He's defending well. Again, like his whole like defensive prowess comes from him just being a very, very smart hockey player and being able to kill plays before they start and rush defense, despite the fact that he's not the fastest skater in the world. But I think he's poised to have a pretty decent tournament. They're going to really need to lean on him heavily if they have any kind of success here. But again, like Suwinny, I've said this before, he's a fascinating player. Like he's, as far as if you could like build the defense, he's like 6'2". He's a really, really, really good skater. It's just so inconsistent with like the defensive side. He was projected to make the roster last year, and he had just had such a poor start to his season that he missed out. I think he missed the U18s too. Maybe he didn't. I may have that wrong. But either way, so hopefully he gets to play here. Again, like he started turning it on the last couple games that he did play this season, playing a lot more for Ilves, close to like 15, 16 minutes. Start of the year, he was like firmly third pair or getting scratched or get sent down to the U20 squad. But there's so much there. Like he's got the tools that you want. It's just a matter of him putting it together consistently, night in, night out. But I think just given the way that this roster's made up, like I think he probably does make it this time. The one interesting D-man that I actually don't even think he got drafted last year, but I liked him a lot, was Daniel Nieminen. I think they listed him as an extra. He has a left shot, so that probably factors in a little bit. But I would like to see him make this team and play a substantial role, considering they've got him pegged in like the second pair there. And then Kumpalainen, he started really hot this year in Liga, cooled off a little bit. He also got hurt for a few games. But I mean, he's played in 3 already. This is either gonna be his 3rd or his 4th World Juniors. And he's got a couple more points recently. He's played a bunch of Champions League hockey for Pelicans this season. So he needs to also be one of their go-to guys. He's going to have to be a top point producer if they make any noise here. But either way, just good to see potentially 3 guys projected to make this team. I think they all have pretty good shots. I mean, like Kumpalainen and Kivi Harju were shoo-ins. Again, Kivi Harju missed last year, just given he got that major injury at the start of the season in practice last year, so he missed almost his entire draft season. So the Wild were to get him in the 4th round. Thank you, Judd. But they should, at least Kivi Harju and Kumpalainen, again, shoo-ins, and they need to play a substantial role if Finland does anything. Suwinny should be able to be a really nice complementary piece. So we'll see. But yeah, they're another step below, another level below the top 3 teams, I think.
Yeah.
And especially like historically, they find their success in like their defensive structure and how hard they play and how hard it is to generate offense against them. But they're really going to need guys like Constantinius to be an animal and one of the top producers here. He needs to be one of the better players in this tournament for Finland to make any noise too. And they really need their goaltender, Emil Vinny, to just like be the goaltending prospect that he looked like he was going to be like 3 or 4 years ago. He's been pretty hit or miss lately. Oilers draft pick. Thank you for Wallstead not taking him. But yeah, they're a lot's gonna have to go right for them to really like push for like even just to medal. The one line combo that I like a lot that they have projected here is that third line of Jesse Nurmi, Heikki Ronan, and Jesse Kiiskinen. You've got a guy like Ronan was one of my one of the better picks for Philly. I think they got him in the they got him right around 100, I think, off the top of my head. Really good all-around forward, potential like premier power forward. He should be able to make noise at this tournament. He's been really good with Team Finland at these international events. And then Nurmi and Kiiskinen can both potentially be goal scorers. And Nurmi's been a bit more of a playmaker in years past too. So that could be a potential really, really solid line. And then another guy that we've talked about before on here, Emil Hemming. He needs to score goals, but of course, overall, again, they've got some good players, but them and Czechia both are just like capable of playing spoiler, but a lot's going to have to go right for either one of those teams to medal, I think.
Fair. Well, then let's talk about the big three. Your stomping grounds virtually. Team Sweden. This is an interesting group, we'll say. Pretty stereotypical of them that they've got solid, mobile blue line. Goaltending is maybe the one thing that isn't quite on par with most years. They got a deep and balanced forward group, but I wouldn't say like you're looking at a ton of world beaters, with the exception of, Felix Unger-Sorum, obviously.
Best player of all time. Yeah, great.
Also, just looking at the headshots here, Anton Wahlberg's neck might rival Andy McDonald's. Holy crap. Thing's bigger than his fucking head. Anyways, this is your stomping ground, Z. Tell me, what do people need to know about this group without you spending 2 hours on it?
Yeah, so, I mean, like you started saying, they're like a really, really, really well-rounded team, top to bottom. The thing that they're missing out on versus like Canada and USA is like the top end outside of like Sandin Pellikka. That being said, Stenberg, Edström, and Unger-Sorum, they've played together for Team Sweden at every international event for like the past 4 years. And every event that they've gone to, they've been one of the 2 or 3 best lines in that tournament. Specifically the U18s 2 years ago. They had USA on the ropes, could have won that.
Have they ever been a better line than the BC line?
No, that's tough to beat. But that'll be interesting to see if we do get that line this year, though, by the way.
Well, we're going to get it in one form or another.
We don't know. Well, yeah. Okay, true. But, but I mean, so that line they've produced is like ridiculous. Like they are just dynamic every time they play again. Just like 3 completely different players that complement each other really well. And then you go to the second line. Felix Nilsson's been a fucking animal since getting drafted in the SHL. Anton Wahlberg's been really good playing in the AHL. But that third line, Anton Frondell, Victor Eklund, 2 potential top 10 picks in this upcoming draft. Frondell's healthy again and playing really well. Eklund's just been ridiculous in the Allsvenskan this season as an underager or as like a 17-year-old. I mean, he's like firmly on their top line. He's scoring, good 2-way game. I don't know if he just isn't aware of the fact that he's not like 6'4", but he is inclined to hit everything that moves. Like he just loves to, and he has a scoring touch. So he's just a ton of fun. And then that fourth line too, Jack Berglund, another one of the picks that I did like, even if they took him a little bit earlier than I would have maybe taken him in Philly. But all 3 of those guys, Jack Berglund, Linus Eriksson, Hugo Pettersson, that gives you some options. Just as like all 3 of them can play center, they can all score. They all 3 are, well, Eriksson and Berglund are really good defensively as well. So it's just a really well put together, bottom 6. There you go. But Sandin Pellikka has been a beast in every single World Juniors that he's played in. It's going to be him and Bouillon potentially going up as like the top defenseman in this tournament. Lindstein was really good.
It still fucking kills me that he wasn't taken instead of Jaeger, especially now that the trade happened. Like,
yeah,
you had me so sold on him. On top of how sick his name is, like, he's just so fun to watch, dude. He's granted, it's not a direct comparison at all, but for Wild fans who have started to kind of pick up on like what we've got here with an Aaron Kiviharju, like he's basically a Kiviharju taking like 7 different kinds of steroids and the Russian gas. Like this guy is the whole package, and he will be. It's going to be fun to see. Like, I'd love to see them go head to head and see him and Zeev duel it out. I think Zeev long term maybe like becomes the better guy. I think in this tournament, Sandin Pellikka is the one that's gonna be the defenseman to watch.
Yeah, I can't remember if he got defense or no, he didn't get. I think maybe it was a U18s a couple years ago that he got top.
He's never going to play in the NHL playoffs either.
Yeah,
he's
Detroit,
a Detroit draftee.
But he and Lindstein have played together the last few tournaments for Sweden, and like Lindstein was a guy that I was shocked went the first round, but since getting drafted, he's put together 2 impressive seasons in Sweden. And him and Sandin Pellikka have played really well together at all these events. And then the second pair of Noel Franzen and Tom Willander, that's incredible. Willander gives
How
you a
has
little bit
Willander
of everything. He's been solid. He's just been solid. He hasn't like done anything crazy to stand out, but I mean, he was playing with like the Hudsons, so like it's always tough. But he is just like the ultimate. Whoever his partner is, so you run free, and Willander literally has everything else covered. And of course, they have him projected to play with Noel Franzen, another fucking Carolina Hurricanes pick, who I fucking love. Potentially, I think I just had him outside my first round, maybe.
Are you a Hurricanes fan?
No.
Like by default, are you?
No, I'm fairly.
Gonna be soon. They have all of your players.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. But Noel Franzen's just like all gas, no brakes, offensive D-man. Like he was scoring like 20, 25 goals in J20 last year, and like ridiculous spinorama in OT goals. Like you would think he is a forward. He is ridiculously good and fun to watch. So him and Willander could be a really fun pair. And then the third pair they have projected, Sully Milanius, all name team. Shout out Leo. It's a very funny combo, him and Hallquist. You've got Sully Wallenius, who can just be a riverboat gambler flying up and down the ice, and then Hallquist will just kill people. So that's always fun. But just a really like all 4 forward lines are really well balanced. Love the combinations on D. But goaltending could be a potential Achilles heel.
So anyone missing from this group? This is the first one where like you could weigh in. Like, is there a Swede that you think should be in this lineup that isn't?
Now, like another like 2025 eligible guy that potentially could have been there, someone like a Victor Klingzel, maybe, or actually not, maybe like a Milton Gaston. But even then, like they're going to lean on the guys that are like Berglund and Eriksson, who are older and
sure.
Played at these tournaments before. So I don't think there's any like notable omissions off the top of my head, anyway. But
okay.
Definitely a team that's going to be challenging to take home gold. Again, just the fact that they, especially with how this, like the format is, like you never know who they're going to get in the semis. But I think when you look at them versus like US and Canada, it's just the top end is where like US and Canada may take a step forward.
All right. Well, let's talk about the number 2 team then, being the Canadians, obviously. This is actually Isha put in the outline that Canada's probably the second best team. There's names. There's also a lot of names missing, which is part of the dilemma when you're talking about a Canada team. I got to say, if not for Dubas making the trade that I didn't want him to make, this second line would make me feel so many things, Z. Braden Yeager centering Gavin McKenna and Matthew Wood. Like I would be as close as I've ever been to cheering for a Canadian team. It'd be weird. So thankfully that I don't have as much of a leaning that way, given that Braden Yeager apparently won't be part of my life. So what do we got here? Do we start with the blue line?
Sure.
Just given that that's where like the most room for contention lives, probably.
Yeah, well, so especially on the back end, but even you could even say this about the defense and the forward group. Like this is this projected lineup or roster is like very different than how Team Canada has usually gone out and built. Like you look at that back end, and I'm pretty sure this has already like been mentioned before, either by these guys when they were talking like scouts and stuff around the NHL or like Team Canada people. Like historically, Team Canada likes to bring at least like 3 or 4 of their D-men who are like big 6'4", 200-pound, like mean, tough bastards in the back end. And they usually try to build out their forward lines too, pretty similarly like to like an NHL squad where it's like you got your top guys in that top 6, and then that bottom, like really just that fourth line. But they do try to be pretty like similar to like an NHL squad where you're bringing those big defensive forwards. This is a different group. Like this projected lineup is lacking in the like raw size element. Like you see it on that projected fourth line, kind of. But I mean, a couple of guys I'll be curious to see if they do take. Like Matthew Schaefer is going to be the first D-man off the board this year. He's one of the best defensive prospects I've watched in so long.
He's
like
probably going 2 or 3, right?
So his big, so he 2,
depending
3,
on where
4.
the draft board falls, like that's the one defenseman that's worth jumping up for.
Right. And I mean, like last year in the OHL as an underager, like was absolutely ridiculous in terms of like the details, his defensive game, his skating, his dynamic. He's an incredibly smart hockey player. The one thing people wanted to see more of is just like point production. Misses the start of this season with mono and is over a point per game and has already surpassed his point total from last season in over 40 fewer games, which is just insane. Like he has been ridiculous. So I'm sure they're going to want to take him. But I still wonder about them being concerned about not having any of those big physical defense from the back end. So like their first pair projected is Molendyk. I don't even know how to actually say it. Molendyk, whatever. And Oliver Bonk. Oliver Bonk gives you like moderate size, but he is physical as shit. He's a good defender. He's capable of chipping in a little bit of offense. But Molendyk is just a very fun riverboat gambler type fucking defenseman where he is going to be all over the ice. He's going to chip in a ton of offense. Defensive side of the puck, he's a bit of a concern, which is why you put him with a guy like Oliver Bonk. But like not the biggest dude in the world. Again, Oliver Bonk is super physical, not the biggest dude in the world. This projected second pair, Sawyer Minio and Zane Parrick. Also, like I think Minio's like 6'1", really good rush defender, not like crazy physical, but he is just solid in terms of his all-around game, especially the rush defense. Parrick is a ridiculous offensive defenseman. I mean, he was shattering every OHL record last season. And then they've got the projected third pair of Matthew Schaefer with Sam Dickinson. That could be a ton of fun. Sam Dickinson is the one guy here on this blue line that they projected as like a big guy, like 6'2", 6'3". So I wonder if they either lean towards like a guy like Yakimchuk, who is big, offensive, and super physical, but the defensive side of the game is going to be a problem. So.
He's big. He looked great, though, in the little bit that we saw from him in the preseason, whatnot. But it's also being played in Ottawa.
Right.
Like, it shouldn't matter, but it fucking does. It does.
Yeah.
Like, they care about that.
And like one of the conversations that people were having debating like the blue line for Team Canada is, can you bring both Zane Parrick and Carter Yakimchuk? I think you probably can. But they both have concerns with like the defensive side of the puck. So as defensemen, that's gonna be a problem. But Yakimchuk just gives them that size and the physicality and just meanness that they always bring a lot of at these tournaments. So that was like one of the questions that's raised just from looking at this like projected roster here. But like with how good Matthew Schaefer's been, it's going to be hard to leave him off. I mean, I don't even think he got player of the tournament, the U18s this summer. for me, he was easily the best player there. Like, I mean, he was ridiculous how good he was. Which, again, it's crazy. Like, he's less than a week. He was less than a week away from being eligible for next year's draft, not this year. Like, he is one of the youngest players in the draft, and he is going to be, like, if you took him second overall, I'd be like, yep, that's a great pick. He just looks, every time you watch him, you just think Miro Heiskanen. Like, he is absurd.
Okay, then.
But yeah, no, the back end is just different than usual. You have like one guy that's like 6'3", which usually they like to bring, which is like the year that Lambos didn't make it. Like, I think the shortest demon they had was like 6'2", and it was insane.
Yeah. I'd go heavy on a future that says Yakimchuk's part of this blue line.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be curious to see at that point. It's like, do they bring both him and Peric and then leave off someone like Schaefer and Minio? I know Team Canada also just fucking loves Sawyer Minio, and he's been really good since getting drafted. So, yeah, interesting one. But just a very different blue line that we're used to seeing from Team Canada.
Okay, is there a forward that you feel has been snubbed?
Yeah, I mean, you're always gonna like look at Riley Height, especially considering, by the way, he's back from injury and immediately was, I think, first star of the game in that game.
He's wearing a fishbowl, though. That's gross.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big one. Like, Tija Ginla's a big one. Bradley Nadeau, Beckett Seneke.
See, this one's for you.
Nishushkin has an assist already. LOL 5-1 Tampa. At least I have one. I need one more. But I'm not going to hit the all puck line, so that sucks. Yeah, I mean, really the big ones, though, it's going to be guys like Riley Height, Bradley Nadeau, Tija Ginla up front.
That line right there, like,
yeah, Lord. Seneke, sorry, yeah. It is crazy. Like, Seneke's been really good, Jesus. Too. So it'll be curious. Like, another thing with this group too is how many young guys there are. Like Porter Martone, Gavin McKenna. Like, Porter Martone answers like the size thing. He is a big, dynamic, just sniper, and he's capable of being a playmaker as well. I think he's almost at a goal per game right now in the OHL. He's tearing it up. And then another young player, another center that they left off that wasn't actually, I guess, considering how ridiculous his start's been. Like Michael Misa, also going to be top 5 pick in this year's draft, most likely. But like, those are the guys that when you consider how Team Canada usually likes to build out their rosters, that's where it starts to make a little bit of sense. Like, they're not just going to bring for forwards. They're not just bringing like 12 or 13 of the most ridiculously skilled players. Like, you look at the fourth line, they've got projected here: Denver, Barkey, Cole Baudouin, and Cataford, the Vegas pick. All three of those guys are like natural centers. Cataford was the one that I thought was particularly interesting, like leaving out. Like, Height can play a really good two-way game. He can play center, obviously, and he could score. Like, he can give you a little bit of everything, and I would have probably taken him over a guy like Cataford, but that's where, like, the way that they typically like to build out their lines and their deep pairs, like, that's where it starts to make. It's like not overly surprising that this projected roster leaves out those guys. That being said, they legitimately, Team Canada is one of those teams at this tournament that, like, they legitimately give guys everyone that gets invited to camp, you absolutely have a chance to make that hockey team. So, you look at some of the guys, if they don't have a good camp, like, they won't make the team. But usually they go older and bigger, and this is a year where they're like seemingly deviating from that somewhat. Specifically the back end, definitely, but even up front too.
Well, let's go on to the 1 seed in the tournament, Team USA. The big question is, Will Smith going to play?
Obviously it makes a big difference, but like, as far as the difference, if he doesn't, naturally you end up sliding Hagens up, and then you get a current BC line.
Timeout. Am I crazy for thinking that sliding Hagens up regardless and having Will Smith center the second line makes a ton of sense too, if he does play? I
don't know. I think if Will Smith goes, I think you let that line continue to cook. Like, they've literally played together since they were, I don't even know how old. Like, I don't think it would take any time.
Not lately.
Well, yeah, no, and again, recently Hagens has played. I also don't think Will Smith's going to go.
No, I don't either. I think it'd be really weird if he went and Celebrini didn't. First off, no.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, Celebrini's been good. Will Smith's he's played better lately, but
if he's not playing, then he should go. But if he's playing, good or bad, if he's playing in the NHL, he shouldn't go. If Celebrini stays, like, that's just like a weird thing. Like, would he want to go in that scenario? Like, Celebrini's chilling back, playing in San Jose. Like, yeah, I'm too good for World Juniors, and Will Smith's like, I'm not.
I hope to someday be.
I don't know. To me though, it's such a different like team too. If you put Hagens on that first line, which again, like, they've been playing together, they've looked good. And then Will Smith all of a sudden elevates Cole Eiserman and Trevor Connolly to like a completely different line. I don't know. You can argue it either way. Let's put it this way. If Will Smith is playing, we're thrilled regardless of what line they put him on. Put him on the fourth line. I don't give a fuck. He won't be there though. I would be surprised. And it'd be a welcome surprise. What else stands out for you here?
Yeah, I mean, I think let me just make sure that I didn't have it wrong. But I mean, the omissions of guys like, and it just froze on me.
Uh-oh.
Oh, am I still frozen? Oh, there we go. Quentin Musty was one that I thought was interesting. That being said, you may be nervous about putting him and Connolly on the same team. Both capable of making a really fucking stupid decision and taking a dumb penalty in the worst possible time. I actually think Musty would have been one that wouldn't have done that. But I mean, like, Connolly, especially like at the U18s, definitely cost Team USA the gold this summer with just the dumbest penalties. He's already done it a few times this year too. He's taken some really bad penalties. Side note, I was at the bar and I looked at like the live stats. Providence was playing. Oh, I can't remember who they played, but he put up 14 shot attempts. I was like, oh my God, dude. He was just letting it fly on Saturday. But yeah, no, Quentin Musty was the one that stood out more than the others, I would say.
That was the easy one for me.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they do if Will Smith doesn't go. I would be surprised if he doesn't go. If he does go.
Okay, so we're on the same page there. How many minutes is Zeev Boyum going to play?
So this is a weird back end. He's playing 30 minutes a night, and it's going to be him and Sandy Pellica, like, vying for top defenseman of the tournament. So I think they've got him paired with Fortescue. It's an interesting one. In the past, he's also played with EJ Emery, but EJ Emery and Cole Hudson have played really, really well together at these tournaments, so they might just lead on that one. Paul Fisher was interesting. Subtle but big, physical, effective D-man. Him playing with Aaron Manetnian, who's just been really, really good at BC since he got there. Had a really good U18 Worlds his draft year. But the thing that could really push USA over the top is Trey Augustine in net. He's got the capability of winning you games by himself, but they're going to be leaning heavily on Zeev Boyum. And again, we'll see what happens with Will Smith and James, or specifically, we'll see what happens with Will Smith, but that means James Hagens probably moves up to play on that top, and then we'll see what happens with the other centers, but they've got decisions to make there. Again, so all things being equal, like, them and Canada are pretty even. They've both got like deficiencies, and it's a little bit different than usual with both of them. But like, Trey Augustine just maybe, when you look at them like pound for pound, like, Augustine's a guy that could potentially put them over the edge.
There you have it. All right. Last quick thing then. We do have the CHL USA Prospect Challenge here this week. Z, anything in particular? Like,
I've said this before. I've said this before. The CHL top guys might win by 700 goals. It's like they might fucking absolutely rip the USHL part. Like, it's scary. It's better. Now that I said that, though, the human mush, maybe they'll lose by 700 now. You know?
But then you said that, so now they'll win by 700 again.
It's going to be a tie. They're going to tie. 0-0 tie.
Both games going to be boring as hell. No one watch. Yeah, it's not going to be great, but we do have gopher LJ Mooney back in action. He will be playing. You might not be able to see him on the ice, but when you do, it'll be a highlight reel.
Just know that he's there. He's going to do something fun, I bet.
Huh. Yeah, nothing much on that then, since you say that it's all pointless and happiness isn't allowed. So the other thing, I guess, real quick, Z. Cosgrove. Bissonnette assaulted by 6 guys in Phoenix. Went to the hospital. Not life-threatening, but geez. It was news to me as well, so I pulled it up.
In the middle of the Russo, I saw that he tweeted about it in the middle of us doing this show.
Dude, so just the way my brain works, it was a little weird. In the article that's posted already, it goes into the details of the event. Like, he was basically trying to help break up like a scuffle with guys that were getting kicked out of a restaurant. But here's an exact quote at the end of the second paragraph. The men then assaulted Bissonnette, quote unquote, inside and outside.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, like inside the restaurant.
Quote. Yes, but it's literally like they aggressively quoted inside and outside. And it's like, that's a weird thing to draw attention to.
I heard him. His outsides hurt more than.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. People that get in like, I have never understood people getting like in these fights or altercations at like in public. It's crazy to me. And at a restaurant, like
pretty crazy.
6. Ew, fuck them. Whatever. We'll see. I guess what actually happened at some point. I haven't read the article. Obviously, I just saw the update, but.
I mean, you know that's all they'll talk about on Chicklets the next episode, so something will come out. But if Grinnell participates at all, then I probably won't listen. So,
Rossi just got robbed.
Oh,
yeah. Would like to see a win over Winnipeg here.
Certainly preferred.
Yeah, I was saying, like, would I like to see them lose? No, I leaned eventually on place to win. But yeah, I don't know. That's all we got this week. I think we could probably call it and go watch the Wild play Winnipeg.
Yep, everyone go tune in to the Wild game if you're joining us live. If not, and you're listening to us after the fact, well, I guess you already know if the Wild won or not. So
we probably
magic. It's voodoo.
We'll see everyone next week. I think. I crossed my fingers. I was like, I think.